Hey guys, it's KJ from the Scariest Movie Ever channel on YouTube. Those of you who followed my channel throughout the years know that oftentimes I'll cover a lot of these big awards ceremonies. So I recently watched the 2019 Eurovision Song Contest. And once again, I see all the symbols in here that I've seen in so many other shows before. Oftentimes this works through people spiritually without them even recognizing it. But this awards show is filled with all of the common symbols of the beast system. Before we even get into it, take a look at the symbol right here, and this is a star that represents Eurovision 2019, and it's actually made up of 3 different pyramids. So this is a very common symbol I've shown you guys throughout the years. When it's something associated with this beast system, they always represent the star with one of the tips down. Symbolically, this is representing the sigil of Baphomet. Not only are we seeing these satanic ideals manifest more and more in people all around the world, but we're also seeing it manifest physically, even in this case as a statue. I'm sure you guys have seen this one before. The beast system means that this world is run by... The beast system, to me, means that The beast system means that this world is run by Satan. We've seen this referenced biblically, and we see it all around us in this world through signs and symbols. And not only do we see this manifesting in many obvious ways, but we also see this through signs and symbols. These occultists hide things in plain sight, and those without the spiritual eyes to see this or understand it will miss it every time. So the film industry is almost always telling us the same stories, just packaged in different ways. And many of these film companies, not just through their movies, but also through their opening credits, are giving credit to the fallen ones. This is the introduction you'll see before any one of their movies. And in this sequence, it clearly plays out the point I'm trying to make. You literally see the stars falling from heaven. Once they reach the earth, you'll see the as above, so below paradigm as one of the stars will tilt and put one of its tips down, dragging over the water, representing as above, so below. So it actually shows 2 stars pointing upside down. Here's the first, and then here's the second. This is an example of how they secretly place these images before our very eyes, yet so few people see the sigil of Baphomet once again. A representation of Satan himself being mixed gender, both male and female. As I've mentioned, I've reviewed a lot of these award shows throughout the past, and I've developed a bit of a checklist whenever I'm watching these shows. Because time and time again we find the same symbolism. And as I stated, I believe it's because it's always the same idea. Giving reverence to the fallen ones, giving reverence to Satan. So there's almost always displays of fire, even hellish scenarios, and I'll be showing you some more of that throughout the video. But one of the first things that really stood out to me was this performer from Albania. This shot was taken from above the stage, and as you see, the performer is standing on what appears to be a hellish planet. Throughout her performance, there's fiery chaos and destruction going on behind her. And here's where it gets incredibly obvious. It was really hard for me to find just a photo of what was taking place here on the stage, but this is the same performer. And if you look just over her left shoulder, that would be for us just to the right of her, you'll see those 2 glowing eyes in the fire. I know it's hard to make out, but that's actually some kind of a demon or dragon. You can see his big black wings flapping around at different moments as she performs. Once again, this is a concept we're constantly seeing pop up in these different awards shows. Demons, dragons, fire, chaos, destruction. Yet oftentimes set to the tune of something poppy, something happy, oftentimes a love song. So this right here is a good shot of the stage for the 2019 Eurovision event. So above the stage we have obvious symbolism for as above, so below. You'll find this throughout this event. Some of the pyramids are connected at the base, others at the apex. And of course the obvious pyramids all over the stage. The Washington Monument's a great example of this same concept. The monument itself is in reference to Osiris's penis. And almost always you'll find some of these more important occultic monuments placed in front of a body of water. As you can see right here, this is the as above, so below concept at work. Here's another really good example from the Louvre in Paris, and of course they have their pyramid structure built right here on top of the water for the reflection, the as above, so below paradigm. This world is a beast system, and you'll find this same concept at work all around the world. Here's another example of that as above, so below paradigm. You have the two pyramids up on stage connected at the apex, and the performer is singing right in the middle of them. As above, so below for these secret societies that have been working to create this beast system for many years is the idea of bringing hell on earth, having Satan's kingdom fully manifest on earth. I've shown for years this is something that the system is programming all of us for. It's been happening for a very long time. This is a performance from Denmark during the Eurovision, and once again, even right here, we find the black and white. And you'll see that over and over again. Once again, that black and white is representing the duality, the as above, so below, and they're performing in front of a massive sun symbol. The sun, to the occultist, represents Lucifer, Luciferianism. So when I tell you I have a checklist I use whenever I'm watching these award shows, that also extends to corporate logos and all forms of entertainment these days. Typically I'll go back to the Freemasons. And this right here is a great example. Many of the symbols you'll find right here that are associated with Freemasonry turn up in all forms of our entertainment, again our advertising logos, your commercials, movies, TV shows. This is an example of how you become aware that this system is a beast system. Even on this logo here, you can see the sun symbolism top left, the obvious all-seeing eye in the center, the pentacle just under the all-seeing eye, the star, the checkerboard floor at the bottom, the black and white tiles, as above, so below, duality, the pillars of Freemasonry. You even have the beehive over there to the right. I've covered that symbol for many years in a lot of these events. You even have the beehive over to the right. It's another very common symbol we see manifesting in this beast system. Another checklist I use is going back into the symbols of Satanism, or other symbols of the beast. The devil comes to us with many names, also comes to us in many forms. So even before I started looking into the Eurovision performances, I was asking myself, will there be the horned beast? Will this be represented? And of course, here it is. It's also interesting that throughout the performance there's lots of sigils floating around in the background. This is sigil magic. This reminds me of a satanic fashion show they had inside of an old church in London not long ago. And even right here you find a lot of the same symbols I was showing you with the Freemasonry symbolism. Even more interesting in this case, they've merged the symbols of Freemasonry with the symbols of Satanism. Even in the very center they have what many people call the Star of David, but if you look back through history, this is actually the seal of Saturn. Also a direct representation of as above, so below. It's two pyramids interconnected, one up, one down. And just above that, they have the star pointing down. Once again, the Baphomet. Here's another really good example, and even right here, if you look up at the top left, you'll see a representation of that falling star. And throughout this particular fashion show, they were literally wearing sigil magic on their faces. The models were. And sigil magic is used to invoke demons, demonic power. So this is another one of those common symbols we find specifically in awards ceremonies. 9 times out of 10, you'll find performers standing in a circle of protection. A magic circle is a circle or a sphere. It's usually a space marked out by practitioners of many branches of ritual magic, which they generally believe will contain energy and form a sacred space, or it will provide them a form of magical protection from the demons they're invoking. We're told that scientists from CERN created the short film Symmetry. But whoever it was behind this film fully understood the occult world. Because in the film they gave a perfect representation of the circle of power or the circle of protection. We have the black and the white represented, of course, so we have your duality. So we have one figure in white inside the circle of protection, and we have one figure in black trying to get in. So for them to sell this as it's just a bunch of scientists who made a goofy little short film It's laughable. As I said, here's a concept that we see played out constantly in this beast system. So here's a sequence from Singers from Iceland, which is all about hellish bondage. I mean, they're literally wearing bondage outfits on stage. This is to me one of the most obvious representations of bondage and sin, bondage and darkness. So of course we find another one of these very common symbols when it comes to so-called Illuminati symbols or satanic symbols. We find it in this awards show, the lightning bolts. I thought this was a really interesting find. It's a singer named Victor Crone, and he's singing, "Even if the sky falls down, we'll turn this all around. Even if the sky falls down, we'll be safe and sound." As he's singing this, he's spinning around in circles and lightning bolts are striking all around him. Just so you can see the connection a little more clear, this is literally from the Church of Satan, and you can see that they reference the lightning bolt in the middle of the pentagram, or the Baphomet. So once again we find many of these common satanic symbols showing up in the mainstream, and I believe always with the same purpose. I mentioned earlier how we're always being told the same stories over and over and over again through a lot of our popular entertainment. And we find the same concept with songs Safe and Sound. They seem to be telling us the same thing over and over again. Here's an example by a band called Capital Cities. Here's the lyrics to their song that's called Safe and Sound. It came out a few years back. "You could be my luck, even if the sky is falling down. I know that we'll be safe and sound. We're safe and sound, safe and sound." Here's another example from Taylor Swift. And Taylor Swift is another one of these people who's fully sold out to this beast system agenda, and she's certainly been used for many years to keep pushing it forward. "Just close your eyes, the sun is going down. You'll be alright, no one can hurt you now. Come morning light, you and I'll be safe and sound. Don't you dare look out your window, darling, everything's on fire. The war outside our door keeps raging on. Hold on to this lullaby even when the music's gone, gone." I find that incredibly sinister, especially from a pop artist, right? One of the biggest pop artists in the world. But you and I both know that these people are more than just bubblegum pop artists. When they've sold out to this system, they're used. And this system is constantly telling us the same stories over and over and over again, just packaged in different ways. "Don't you dare look out your window, everything's on fire, the war outside our door keeps raging on." Fire, chaos, destruction. Another one of those symbols we see time and time again come to us in the form of the diamonds. So obviously a diamond can be seen as a symbol for that as above so below paradigm as well. A diamond is two pyramids attached at the base. But I want to show you some other interesting anomalies I found concerning the diamonds. I find it interesting that there have been many sightings all around the world of these diamond-shaped UFOs. These are shape-shifting UFOs. They're obviously made out of a form of energy, and oftentimes we see them form into the shape of diamonds. If you've never seen this before, please go do a search sometime and look up diamond UFOs. You'll get lots of footage and lots of examples. I personally believe these are demonic interdimensional beings. And of course, later on as he's performing the song, we have chaos, fire, destruction behind him. Much like the lyrics by Taylor Swift for her song Safe and Sound, "Don't look outside the window, the wars are raging on." And many of us believe that it will be an event much like this, a very chaotic event, a fiery event, that's going to fully launch the unveiling of the man of sin, or the son of perdition. Here's another example of the stage, and it's interesting, the subliminal you see right there in the very center. It looks like a horned figure or some kind of a demon. He's talking to one of the presenters of the show, and you can see just over his shoulder more symbolism. These are more seals of Saturn. If you didn't know, Saturn itself is another representation of Satan. Again, with the sun symbolism, the sun worship, Luciferianism, we have this artist right here starting off, an above shot of him standing in the middle of a sun, singing a song. And in the very next sequence, we find him singing in front of an upside-down pyramid. They add in this interesting effect where it shows this singer actually leaving his body, so here's an example of that. And then here's another example, leaving his body. They always find an interesting way to refer to the fallen angels. So of course Eurovision 2019 was no different. So the headdress she's wearing is filled with stars. I thought this was very interesting. Another reference to the Bible, I believe. It's Revelation 12:1, where it says, "A great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and a crown of 12 stars on her head." So speaking of that checklist I was talking about earlier, almost always you can expect to see the all-seeing eyes show up in these performances. This one right here is no different. This is from a band performing from the country of Spain. They have the all-seeing eye, and they also have the V in the very center, or the 5. I've talked about this for years, and that represents the 5th age, the last age of man, or the age of the Antichrist. I've been calling it the Baphomet system now for a few years, but we're seeing that whole idea manifest more and more. Specifically, I mean the idea of combining both male and female into one body. Now, this right here I consider to be very heavy evidence, again, to support my point here. The performer you're seeing here is named Conchita Wurst. He became really well known worldwide from his performance in 2014. During this performance, in the background, once again, fire, chaos, destruction. It also had an animated phoenix. The song was all about the phoenix and rising from the ashes. And once again, this is a concept that correlates perfectly with the age of the Antichrist. That character cannot fully be exposed until the chaos and destruction comes. And then that new world order will rise from the ashes. Even more interesting and extra evidence, the chorus of the song that he's singing here is dancing with the demons in your mind. These are literally public rituals taking place before our very eyes. And this one right here I think speaks for itself. You have another artist come out, and before she performs, we find out that she's wearing a bodysuit with a massive Baphomet upside down star over her private parts and also over her breasts. And then there's this bizarre sequence right here. You see there's a character in the background, of course with a star on top of their head, and I showed you the star earlier connected with the Masons. That's called a pinnacle. And the reason I believe that translates here is look at the arms on that character in the background. One's down and one is up. You know, why is one of the arms up? And I'll show you what it reminds me of. It takes us back to the Baphomet. The arms may be switched, but there's still one down, one up. So this is the as above, so below paradigm. It's another example of that. And even on the Baphomet image itself, you see the pinnacle right there on the forehead. So we come back to this cartoonish image, and we shouldn't be surprised we find a pinnacle right there on the forehead, or on the head. And they are actually performing the song on top of a massive pinnacle. Back to the checklist, we're always seeing the symbol of Saturn in a lot of these events as well. Saw the hexagon earlier, and now of course we have this, an obvious representation of Saturn inside of the pyramid. Here's some of the performers singing a song together, and of course this is in front of the Saturn symbol under the pyramid. Once again, far right, we have this singer here wearing the pentacle on the head. Near the end of the song, the Saturn symbolism is replaced by tons of sun symbolism, once again back to that Luciferian agenda. Here's just another example of a theme we see constantly playing out in a lot of these public rituals. I believe it's an open mockery of religion itself, or more specifically Christianity. And this right here, these people are performing in front of the stained glass windows, of course. If you look just behind the guy in the piano, just to the left of him, you'll see the serpent in there as well. So to top it all off, of course, here comes Madonna. Now, if anybody's sold out to the beast system, it's Madonna. She's been used for years in these public rituals. So near the end of EUROVISION, she comes out literally on a sacrificial altar. So this right here is some of the creepiest stuff, really, that I found. And we're going to get a little bit deeper here, but she's on this sacrificial altar and she's talking to some of these characters that are about to be sacrificed. And I believe these characters are supposed to be Christians. She starts off by saying they're so naive. They didn't think that we were aware of their crimes. She says we knew, we just weren't ready to act. And just before she starts the song, she says, the storm is not in the weather, it's inside each and every one of us, or it's within. We are born with both evil and dark within us. The seed of the devil and the seed of God. The only way to rectify that is through a relationship with Jesus Christ. I also believe this performance is all about the coming event and the arrival of the Antichrist on the scene. In the chorus, they continue singing, not everyone is coming to the future, not everyone is learning from the past, not everyone can come into the future, not everyone that's here is going to last. And of course, we find the same concept showing up again throughout the performance. In the background, total destruction, fire, the event that will usher in the Antichrist. Near the end of the song, you have couples marching up to the top of the altar, the ritualistic altar, and they sacrifice themselves. You can see two people dressed in white standing at the top, and as this plays out, they fall backwards and more people keep marching up, being sacrificed. Now again, I believe this has to do with the Christians during that time, or those who won't accept the mark. So as the people keep being sacrificed, the song goes on, and this is the last part of the lyrics. It's the future where we come from being stars, or falling stars. It's the future where we come from being hard. It's the future where we come from beat 'em all. Future where we come from being boss. It's the future where you got to pay the cost. Future where you come from being lost. Most importantly, it's a future crucifixion on a cross. But you know that I'm a rise above it all. It's been a while since I've seen a show this obvious about it. It's been a while since I've seen a show that has so much in it. The king is coming. This beast system knows it. This is the apocalypse. Apocalypse means the great revealing. Everything's being revealed. So keep strong out there. And as always, thanks for watching my videos. And I'll talk to you later.